Ofer, great to do this with you. I wanted to just go through your background, obviously with you now being a Fifthwall, in part because you have such an interesting background at the collision of kind of real estate and capital markets.
Sure. I'm originally from Israel, and so born and raised there. Started my career in the Israeli army, actually. So there for 4 years. After that, I went to school in Israel and started really my passion for finance and business. I was a financial analyst at GE for a couple of years. And decided to take it a step forward and went to Columbia Business School. It was the height of the financial crisis. I had a front row seat, kind of watching the meltdown of Wall Street. I chose to get into investment banking. I started my career at UBS Investment Bank. I was in the mergers and acquisition groups for a couple of years, and then had an opportunity to move to JP Morgan into the real estate investment banking group, where I spent the last decade. And really what I've noticed in the past couple of years, and this collision of real estate and technology, the question I had in my mind is how do I capitalize on this mega trend? That's really what pushed me to start the PropTech coverage effort at JP Morgan. And obviously, Fifthwall's name is synonymous with PropTech. That's how I got to know you guys, a couple of years ago. But really, I think the reason we're kind of all here today is SmartRent. That was really the first time that I kind of witnessed the power of the platform and the brand that you guys have created, and became very, very excited about the opportunity to work with you guys.
It's so interesting to think about the fact that, at a major, bulge bracket investment bank like JP Morgan, there is now a practice of PropTech. Looking back to when we started Fifthwall, it was 2016 when me and Brad were kind of running around, trying to get people to invest in our first fund, preaching that PropTech was going to be a thing. And no one even thought of it as a category. What that experience was like from inside an investment bank.
It wasn't easy. It was easier than the job that you and Brad had. To some extent, COVID was a catalyst. And I've kind of witnessed that really accelerating since the beginning of 2021 when the capital markets came back. And obviously SmartRent was one transaction with us. I think that kind of opened up a world of opportunities at JP Morgan. What I didn't have is the tools to capitalize on this opportunity.
The interesting thing about, it sounds like your experience, but also our experience, is that real estate is such a massive industry. Real estate is 13% of US GDP, right? It's the largest capital market. It's the largest asset class. It's the largest store of consumer wealth. And I think by virtue of its size, it's also so idiosyncratic. Real estate used to be covered in financial services within a lot of investment banks. So then they realized that no, this is not just like a physically instantiated bond. Like real estate is actually something very different as an industry. And I think what's interesting about that is that when tech kind of is no longer a sector unto itself, and tech is colliding with all of these industries, the underlying idiosyncrasies of the industry become apparent in that asset class. Meaning, like, to do prop tech well, to cover it as an investment banker, or to invest in it from Fifthwall's position, you need to both understand tech, but also understand real estate. And the nexus of those two things is very rare. They very rarely overlap. And so I'm curious, like, within an investment bank, how did you think about building that kind of like dualistic skill set?
We basically had to start kind of a new venture that had both bankers from the technology side of and the expertise we had in the real estate group, but trying to put together those two teams together was part of the effort. What's, again, great about Fifthwall is the fact that you kind of have both of those skill sets in-house. And I think it grew organically over the past 6 or 7 years, which is kind of the other differentiating point, trying to put together kind of an ad hoc kind of deal team to cover a company with experts from tech and real estate. It's not an easy thing to do.
I'm curious also to get your perspective on the SmartRent transaction, given that, we were actually on opposite sides of that transaction. And so what was that like when you kind of first encountered this congruence between SmartRent, the company you're advising, and Fifthwall's SPAC?
One of the interesting things, obviously, about Fifthwall is that you're an investor from essentially Series A and now basically have product to take companies public all the way through kind of getting into the public markets. And so you guys were there early. There was some obviously skepticism around the SPAC product. SmartRent kind of over the hump is the fact that there's a very strong and clear strategic value. And that's really the reason companies choose to take a SPAC route versus an IPO, which is just a capital raising event, I think is really looking for that strategic angle and the added value that a firm like yourself can bring to the table. You already help that company get to a certain scale and stage, but really to take it to the next phase and really take that company maybe to other asset classes or to take them to other geographies, so open more doors for them or provide them with strategic advice I think that's the part that really convinced SmartRent to partner with you guys, in addition, obviously, to the brand and to the capital markets expertise and to the capital.
That's, the same dynamic that we see in private, venture capital financing rounds, is that when we started, our view was, hey, can we deliver something more than just capital? And by virtue of that, will we be able to get access to the highest quality entrepreneurs and the most desirable companies? And our view is that there was actually two things that did. One is, of course, the CEO and the management team is going to want access to our distribution lanes at Fifthwall, where we can kind of like open up all these channels of distribution to the real estate industry. But then equally important, the investor base, right? The other venture capital funds that are already in the company and or might be leading the round are going to want to make room for us. What's interesting about a SPAC is it is a singular instrument, meaning that you're not part of a syndicate. There's a gravity to the decision. It was so interesting to see a company that we had been able to forge a relationship with on the venture side, demonstrate value to, take that into this, kind of public markets conduit vehicle.
The number one question on CEO's mind when they think about, SPAC these days is certainty of execution. I think there's obviously a lot of vehicles out there that have capital. The question you're going to ask yourself, though, is can you really sell this deal to the capital markets and to pipe investors and to permanent capital vehicle? And that's really, I think, where the value of your platform and your brand and the strategic value really comes to bear.
You're now at Fifthwall. You've kind of taken on, in some ways, a similar but different role in working with some of the largest real estate companies in their technology strategy and encouraging them to invest in and partner with new tech solutions. What excites you the most the next year at Fifthwall?
I think we are at an inflection point in this industry. And that's frankly one of the main reasons I chose to make this move. I am passionate about PropTech, and I'm passionate about integrating technology into real estate organizations and really helping them. And I don't think tech is going to be the solution for everything, but I do think it's going to enable companies to grow more efficiently and to differentiate themselves in the marketplace. And so I do think that the opportunity is immense. We're now at a point where most of the conversation that I'm having is not about, hey, can technology help my business? Is how can I integrate technology in the best possible way? I think we're just going to continue to see the growth of PropTech. And so it's really, I think most organizations, and the conversation I'm having today is around, should I do this on my own or should I partner with someone like Fifthwall? And I do think that the answer to that question is also clear in my mind. Real estate organizations are good at investing in real estate. And so they don't have the right, expertise, they don't have the access that we have, and they don't have the time and resource. I mean, you definitely want to partner with someone to help you navigate this technological change. One of the things that excites me the most is really helping organizations derive strategic value from a partnership with us.
I agree. And I think we're at that inflection point. And the other thing that I think is also really exciting is that we, in particular, have also just glimpsed that this secular collision between real estate and tech is a bit more nuanced and kind of multifaceted than even we first realized. So it feels like the earth is kind of shifting underneath the real estate industry's feet. And it's this critical moment where we can really be a partner. And that's why from our side, we were so excited to work with you, because you've been at the front line of all of these collisions while being that high trust partner to, the biggest real estate companies on earth. And I'm just really excited to do all this with you.